Welcome to Beyond the Prep, a podcast dedicated to providing information and insights into the bodybuilding sport. This podcast covers a wide range of topics from finding a coach to the struggling of competing, nutrition, supplements, cost, and much more. I'll be talking with competitors so you can hear their stories, judges, coaches. If you're interested in sharing your story, send me a note at skapach40@gmail.com. Welcome. I am Sherrie Kapach, the host of Beyond the Prep. Today's guest is Jenna, the owner-operator of Bombshell Productions. I'd like to welcome Jenna today, and thank you for joining me.
Hey, Sherrie, great to be here. Thanks so much for the invitation. We're excited for today's show.
Yeah, so let's start with how you got involved with bodybuilding.
Oh, wow. I got into bodybuilding. I have an older brother who's 13 years older than I am. And so we had weights and stuff set up in the basement. And I remember kind of going down, being really young, like toddlerish, and just going to hang out. I just always wanted to be a part of what he was doing. And so I'd go down and kind of watch him work out and different things. I mean, I obviously couldn't lift the weights, but I liked listening to the Ghetto Blaster and all that stuff. And played sports kind of throughout school, was very active, rode horses, did a whole bunch of different things. And then kind of my brother just kind of started getting me into the gym. And so I bought a gym membership, I think when I was 16 at a local high school, started working out, really noticed a big difference just in terms of mood and all kinds of different things. And yeah, so then by the time I got into my, late teens, early 20s, I was training daily at a local gym. I started prepping for a show. I didn't make it onto stage, unfortunately, but yeah, it's just always been something that I've really loved. And I think that, I used to save up my allowance for muscle mags when I was really young. I know that's weird. Lots of my friends didn't understand why I thought muscles were cool, but it was like, this is something that takes so much work and dedication. And I just always thought that I just never really understood why other people didn't think it was as cool as I did. So
Interesting. Yeah, it's completely a preference for sure. So how did you get involved? Okay, I'll explain a little bit here. You provide tanning, jewelry, shoes, the whole package to the stage. So how did you get involved in the tanning aspect of it?
The tanning was kind of, to be honest, not even something I initially thought of. I ended up starting out when I did finally end up competing. And when I ended up competing, it was really, I had all these questions for my coach. I didn't know where I had to go for this or what I had to do for that or who to contact for shoes or where to get suits and all these different things. And so I initially started kind of dabbling in beauty, taking some makeup artistry courses, microblading course. And then initially that's kind of the direction that I wanted to go into, was going to be the makeup. Sorry, my little puppy who's 8 months old is being a little noisy, but he's got a toy now, so it's okay. So I kind of started, I thought doing stage makeup for the athletes would be really cool. So went and got 2 certifications. And then I'm like, oh, well, tanning is always something that, the athletes need. And it's something that can make or break your placing. So I kind of started looking into that. Initially, it was just everyday spray tanning. And then I had talked to a couple of people, one who happens to be Ryan Richardson, who I'm sure you know very well, and the other was John Dirks. and they just kept bringing up liquid sun rays. Every time I turned around, there was people talking about liquid sun rays. It was the best spray tan they've ever had. The color was amazing. So I really started doing some research into kind of who offered it in Canada. And I came to find out that there was only one company at that point, and they weren't really doing a ton of stuff anymore. So I reached out to LSR. I think that was like Tuesday afternoon, emptied my bank accounts, borrowed money, did whatever I had to do to pay for the training. And I flew down to Nashville for an only women's show, which was the Nashville Fit Show, which is Whitney Weiser, and got my training there. And it was mind blowing, the stuff that I learned. It was super cool to be backstage. I loved being able to interact with the athletes, and that's kind of how the tanning stuff started. I was already selling accessories and things at that point, and kind of how that came about was I kind of just, people just always asked me where to go to get things. And so I felt that having a one-stop shop approach where people could just go and get everything that they needed in one location seemed to make sense. I also felt that if somebody was coming to purchase one thing from you, you're going to develop trust with them, and they're going to look to you, or they might call you to ask where they go for any of these other services. And if we offered them, it just made things easier. We already had their trust and already had a rapport. So that's kind of how that all started out.
So when you say make or break your stage presence,
yeah,
explain a little more into that.
I think, again, we all know, whether you've been going to shows for years or you're a first-time competitor, people always talk about green cans. They always talk about different things that can happen. And again, you could have two really comparable physiques that, you know, are pretty much neck and neck. Maybe one of their tans is better. Maybe if it's female competitors, maybe their hair and makeup is a little nicer, their presentation. There's a lot of things that the judges take into consideration for the shows. And tanning just happens to be one of those things that gets hammered on hard. The stage, again, the judges can be sometimes very unforgiving. If you've got a really bad tan, like I said, that could be the difference between first and fourth place. It really depends. And if you're competing at pro level shows like the Olympia or the Arnold, or, you know, any of the, I would call them the tier 1 pro shows, there's a ton of stuff that can happen. You know, things we eat, dandelion extract is a really big culprit. Other things we can consume can affect your internal pH balance, and that's actually why your tan goes green. It sometimes, yes, it can be old product, but the majority of time it has to do with an internal pH balancing issue. And that's why I just stand so strongly behind our products. I know our CEO, Marilyn Spatola, she's an ex-nurse. So she's done her research. There is no acetone in our products. There's no harmful ingredients. They're all very sought out to actually be beneficial to the skin instead of drying it out. And again, we also have other products like our skin prep that were designed with her and our chemist, and they work in conjunction with the solution. So it does make the overall experience for tanning much more pleasant. We see it all the time. My team knows immediately when you step into our tent if you've done your skin prep. We know if your color starts going funny or any of that kind of stuff. We can modify things, you know, as much as we can. But I don't think a lot of competitors or people getting into the sport really understand that we're a team. So it's kind of like painting a portrait or painting a picture. If you bring me a canvas that's covered in dust that's been hanging out in your garage for 3 years, the picture's probably not going to be super awesome. But if you purchased a canvas, it's been wrapped in plastic, it's been loved, taken care of, and protected, and then you go to do the picture, it's going to be much better. It's the same thing. Lots of people don't exfoliate. They don't use a proper pH balancing body wash. People use things like Dove soap, which is a total no-no in the tanning world. I've also heard athletes pour baking soda or sit in a baking soda bath. Those are things that there's myths out there involved in kind of what can benefit your skin and how to regulate things. Those are things that really, in my opinion, don't do anything. Coffee scrubs are another really bad one. Lots of people love Bath and Body Works, and listen, I'm all in for Bath and Body Works too, but when it comes to competition time, you should be taking care of your skin year round. Don't use things with alcohols or fragrances, Axe body wash, Bath and Body Works, body butters, coconut oils. I get that there's so many people that are conscious of what they're putting on their skin, but it's always smart to get in touch with the tanning company you're working with and spend the time reading. A lot of our companies, we have the tanning prep available, so we make it easy for you. But I think the biggest thing is, are you willing? You just spent 16, 20, 24 weeks. Maybe that's been a bucket list, whatever your reason is for competing. Do you really want to skimp out on your skin prep and risk maybe not placing as well? I know I wouldn't, but I'm competitive.
So if someone's new, considering going into a show, and they're looking into the tan, so you provide the prep and the direction to take prior to show day, correct?
We have the liquid sun-rays skin prep products. So Marilyn actually just came out with an XL version of it. The current kit that we have, it's got a pH balanced body wash, which temporarily regulates your skin, your skin's pH. We have a charcoal sugar scrub that smells amazing, and again is super great to get rid of your dead skin cells and exfoliate your skin. And then there's also a moisturizer, which again is everything smells so good. They just switched the fragrances to a neutral scent, and it's really invigorating, which I really like. And then if you're doing back-to-back shows, obviously the XL kit is the best option. On our website, we do have the skin prep instructions available. When I send out emails just prior to show, I also include them in there just for people to kind of double check. But as I mentioned, it's really important to be doing your skin prep year round. No, you do not need to be using those specific products, but you should be moisturizing daily with something gentle like Lubriderm, Aveeno, no fragrances or alcohols. Once is great, twice is better. Exfoliating at least once a week. Get yourself some scratchy bath mitts. It's never worth it to be fighting with somebody who you're borrowing that stuff from. So get your own, and obviously just spend, a little bit of time when you're in the shower just taking care of your skin. We know instantly. We know the people that have taken care of their skin. We know the people. I know if you're wearing deodorant, your armpits will go green. So again, like there's tells that kind of come out in the tanning process. My team is trained that we'll ask you questions, but we generally know the answer to them already. We're just establishing whether there's trust there. And we do have competitors, unfortunately, lie to us. It's our job to try and make sure we can educate them, but people think it's just putting color on, and it's not. There's a lot more science behind the tanning. And I think, especially some coaches, I think they need to do their research with the companies they're trusting and kind of educate themselves as well with how they can give their clients the best opportunity. Again, I know some coaches that will recommend some things. I've seen some outrageous skin protocols, and it's always best practice. I mean, your coach does your diet and your training. You're the one that has to execute it. But if you're coming with my company, we're the one that are doing your tan. I'd probably be listening to the people that do that on a regular basis. But again, that's me.
Yeah. Do the research, do the homework.
Yeah,
for sure. So if someone's been outside, it's got some pretty bad tan lines, are you able to help them with that?
Yeah, I mean, there's different options. We see all kinds of different things, especially with the summer shows. Farmer tans are kind of a big one. The other issue that we do kind of see is they're very fair skinned. There's alternatives and different things that we can make recommendations for. to help the athlete kind of figure out what's going to be the best protocol. Again, when we start working with a client, usually we build a pretty solid relationship with our clients. So they generally will come back to us regardless kind of on what show they're competing in. But I also know if, maybe something didn't work out the best, or there's something that I wasn't really pleased with the first initial try, then I definitely talk to them about options that we can do for the next time. And usually we kind of, everybody's different. That's another big thing, is there's natural melanin that's in the skin, and not everybody has the same amount. So you can go outside and tan really well. You're probably going to take my color really well. But if you don't tan well outside, again, like, we can still help you, but there's just certain things that I would probably recommend that we could do to just make the experience easier. Again, athletes think it's just slapping color on and everybody's going to have the same. It doesn't work like that. Tanning beds, again, that's your choice. If you're morally okay with it, whatever your health concerns are, as long as you're okay with making that decision for yourself, it's not something I advise for or against. But if you do have a base tan, that's okay. Lots of people, again, unfortunately, kind of go into different supplements, and I can tell the athletes that are taking melanotan very easily, especially if we worked together before. If they maybe had problem issues beforehand and they didn't this time, you can usually tell when somebody's kind of switched things up. But I think doing the research and making sure that, just get in touch with the tanning company. That's what I kind of recommend. If you've got questions, any good tanning company is going to take the time to get back to you and answer your questions to help put your mind at ease. Sherrie, I can't even tell you how many phone calls I've had probably over the years, especially during COVID. We had one show, I think I probably talked to almost every competitor, but it's all about reassuring the client and that they know that it's a trust thing, and my team and I can only be as good as what you bring us. So I think that's important. Farmers tans, if you need to do it, cool, but it's always better if you're a little more even. We can fix it though.
Just a little more work.
Yeah, that's okay.
So you also provide shoes and jewelry. Now, what does that bring to the show?
I mean, I don't really want to talk about ice cream sundaes, but I guess that's the only analogy I can do. It's kind of like the sprinkles and the cherry on top. Okay. I mean, the reason you tan is the stage lights are super bright, so it doesn't really matter what skin tone you are. It's super important to have a tan on. Wearing jewelry, shoes, again, the different divisions will require different things. So something like women's bodybuilding, women's physique, there are no heels that are worn in those divisions. But then divisions like figure, wellness, bikini, those all have heels. So again, I have my preferences of what I recommend. Most of the athletes are generally wearing a 5-inch heel, usually. The wellness, again, it's a different look. So I generally will put them in a shorter heel, just again for that appearance of a boxier look. All those things just make a big difference. I mean, lots of people, I always recommend, like, check out the Olympia, check out the pros, see what they're doing. But it's also your day. So it's about what you like. And, maybe you're a wellness competitor and you are short and you want to wear a 5-inch heel, rock it out. Maybe you're a bikini competitor and you're tall and you don't want to wear a 5-inch heel. You want to go down to a 4. That's totally fine too. The nice thing with the federation that we're involved with, which is the Canadian Physique Alliance, is there are no shoe regulations. I mean, if you're rocking out with like 8-inch heels, you might get some points docked off. I mean, don't quote me on that 100%. I'm just thinking that might be a possibility, but it's nice because there's no questions. You can kind of wear whatever you want. Most of the shoes that the girls are wearing are like a clear stiletto heel with a bit of a platform in the front. And again, I always find out what people are doing in terms of divisions to make the best recommendation for them. I've done lots of try-ons where people have, come to the stores or done any of that kind of stuff with us. The shows and the pop-ups are definitely the best. Ordering online can get a little risky unless you're an experienced competitor. Your feet shrink during prep. I'm sure you can attest to that, but your feet get smaller. And again, once you start cutting that water just prior to showtime, you want to make sure that your shoes fit properly. It drives me postal when I see people wearing socks in their shoes. I get it. I know that it's not comfortable. I know that it's not great and the blisters and all that stuff sucks. But here's the thing. When you put something else other than your foot into that shoe, you're stretching the plastic too much and they won't fit you properly on show day. And then you see the girls where they're curling their toes over trying to grip their shoes. And it's like, well, yeah, because you were rocking socks in them. So all of those things you can wear, big, huge earrings, you can wear smaller earrings, you can wear 2 bracelets, you can wear 1. It really depends on your personal choice. The stuff that we do, I do look at, I've obviously been to the Olympia and the Arnold and some of the other pro shows in the States. I'm constantly looking at what people are wearing. I'm constantly online checking, different things. So if it's a new piece or maybe it's a new style of shoe, I definitely look at bringing all that stuff in to try and stay on trend so that the offerings that we can give for our clients are, again, whoever your favorite pro is, you could be wearing the same thing as them, which I think is kind of neat as well.
Mm-hmm. So nothing really would take away from, say, the judging part of your jewelry aspect of it, or does it just add to your presentation?
I think it generally adds to your presentation, but if you're wearing like a 6-inch bracelet that basically goes from like here to here, probably not going to look awesome on stage. Yes, you can be an individual. I've seen some really cool things that are very different on stage, but you don't see athletes wearing necklaces, anklets, that kind of stuff. Again, there are a ton of different companies out there that offer jewelry. Like I said, I just kind of look at what the trends are, look at what the athletes are wearing. I do market research on a regular basis just to kind of see the companies and what they're offering and that kind of stuff. And we always have a booth at our shows. So it's definitely nice because if you purchase something, maybe you're not really sure of, we always have shoes. We've got jewelry. We've got a ton of different things that we have available in case you want to get something different, or maybe you left that to the last minute, which is okay too. Some girls aren't aware that you can do what you want with the jewelry aspect. Again, check the federation you're competing with, because I do know some have regulations with that. But again, I've had it where we've been at shows and I had one girl who I looked at her and I'm like, where's your other earring? We couldn't find it. So backstage, she was going to be on stage in 3 minutes. So I ran out to my booth, grabbed a pair of earrings that was similar, gave them to her, got her to put them on. And that was really nice because she was stressed out, obviously. I didn't know if it was a new trend that she was trying to execute or what the deal was, but having that is definitely nice. And like I said, check the regulations. Some federations don't want you wearing bracelets, but then you get to the show and people are wearing bracelets, or maybe you thought you could only wear 1, but everybody else is wearing 2. And so now, again, I just think it's important, do the stuff that you like. Within reason. Don't go super crazy with it, but we're also available. We do jewelry styling. And if you've got questions, I'm happy to answer any of that. If a competitor wants my advice or, wants to talk to me at a show to find out what the best option is, but you're going to get a pretty good idea backstage what you could be wearing. And yeah, sorry, on a side note too, for newer athletes, I think it's always really great for you guys to volunteer. Start volunteering backstage so you can or at a show, get your feet wet. It helps keep you on track. It gets you really excited for when you're going to start competing, but you'll start seeing what people are bringing backstage. you'll see that the majority of the girls are bringing like blankets and pillows and rolly suitcases, nothing on your shoulders because that can wear your tan off. Any of that kind of stuff. It's definitely cool, but it kind of takes the fear factor out of your first show away. And I think that it definitely gives you a good idea of what everyone else is doing. Not that you need to be a follower, but maybe there's something that somebody's bringing that you didn't even think about. And you want to be comfortable backstage because you could be back there for a few hours before you actually go on.
Yeah, and release the stress with the more knowledge you get, the more you see, the less stress over it, and talking to you guys. Just, yeah, the knowledge helps with the stress aspect because it's a very busy day and there's a lot going on. And if it's your first time, you have no idea.
This is what most people look like. It's deer in the headlights. They're very nervous. But what I love about being backstage with the athletes is you can see sometimes you'll buddy up with somebody who has never competed before and you just start learning things together because maybe they know something different than you do. Or, if you're on a team, maybe there's a more experienced competitor that kind of takes you under their wing or any of that kind of stuff. It's really cool. The culture and the community that's backstage. I mean, not everybody's super warm and fuzzy. I'm not going to paint that picture, but the majority of people, like, it's so cool. You'll walk through and it's like all these different little picnics. That's how I kind of look at it. It's these different groups that are together. People are sharing like rice cakes or, when it's time to have maybe the chocolate or bring the treats out. People are all like, they've got these massive containers of baking and it's just neat to see everybody kind of come together and celebrate that accomplishment. Like I absolutely love that. And some of the friendships and relationships that you develop from competing, these are going to be people that are going to be with you lifelong. It's so cool because they understand what you're going through. They understand the diet and the training and the sacrificing. And especially as females, we're so used to putting everybody before us, right? Our kids, our spouse, our work, our family, friends, whatever that looks like. Competing is an opportunity for you to kind of take that power back, I guess, and do something amazing for yourself. But the culture, like I love it. And I highly recommend if you're thinking of competing, get in touch with whoever the promoter is, ask them about volunteering. You will not be disappointed. Yes, it's going to be a long day and you're still there to work. But at least you kind of get a behind the scenes look at exactly what goes into competing.
Great advice. It's definitely a small knit community. Yeah. It's not around, even with me getting involved, starting out, like I'm out in a rural area. I have nobody around me that competes. We didn't have a gym. I knew no one in the business at all, didn't know where to start. So definitely getting involved and active with it. I'm definitely noticing that it's a great community. And like you say, that's where your support is, because if you don't have it outside of that, you will definitely get it when you start volunteering and becoming more present in it, for sure.
It's completely, again, I mean, I love the sport. I'm incredibly passionate about it, but I just think that, there's a lot of people, whatever the reason is for bringing you to stage. I mean, I've seen girls that, had weight issues. I've seen people that it's a bucket list issue. I've seen people come out of abusive relationships or relationships in general, and this is just something they feel is, they want to do. I have competitive athletes that are now switching disciplines. They've played team sports and now they want to do something a little different. It's so cool how it's such a huge spectrum of people that come to one thing like the stage. And people get really hard on themselves if, maybe they initially start the diet and they can't make that show. Like, the stage isn't going anywhere. It's always going to be there with open arms. It's like the gym. If you have to take time off the gym, it's always going to be there with open arms to welcome you back. And I know people kind of laugh when I say that, but the stage is always going to be there. It's, if you need to get some things organized in your life, discipline, making priorities, all that kind of fun stuff. I think it's important to do it when the timing's right too. Don't push yourself. And one of the things I think it's important, listen to your coach. Your coach isn't going to let you go on stage if you don't look good. I mean, most coaches won't, not that I'm aware of anyways, unless things have changed, but it's their reputation too that you're representing. So it's, if you can't, something happens where you're going through personal stuff or, you know, whatever's going on with your life, there's other ways to keep involved in the sport. There's other ways, again, like I know people who have met backstage at shows and they do cardio together, or maybe they train together, or, you know, maybe they do posing group together, or there's all these different resources that I think it's so important to share with your network. But these are the people your significant other might not understand, your family might not understand, and maybe they don't support it. And at least if you've got kind of people that are competing that have gone through it, you don't feel alone.
Yeah.
You feel like you belong. And that's a big thing. Like, again, there's competitors that come to the stage, all reasons, same thing with the gym. And I just think it's really important, even if somebody's a little quiet, like approach them with kindness and, you know, try and support them. Even if you're backstage at a show, I've seen it where girls have been so terrified that they're, they don't know anybody. And, you know, our team will go around and we might introduce people or whatever. Even if they're coming without a coach, I generally will try and introduce them to other coaches. It's not to try and get them a coach, but it's also when you're a part of a team, like it's definitely nice because there's other people that are there. So you might not know them super well, but you can kind of go, you know, hang out or whatever needs to happen backstage, but at least you're kind of all wearing the same robe or it's the same team or, you know, there's all kinds of crazy stuff, but just always be kind and approach it in a positive way, but get involved. If you can't step on stage that year due to injury, whatever, go volunteer. It's going to keep your motivation up. It's going to keep you involved. It's going to keep you attached to that community because having that attachment, I think, is really, really critical. And it just provides a different support system for you, which I think is super, it's just extremely important competing.
Absolutely, because it can get lonely out there when you're getting into prep and you're kind of staying away from the social aspect of it because it just helps you stay on track. And if you don't have the support around the family, at least you know with this community you have the support because everybody's in the same boat.
Yeah.
So.
Well, even going to a restaurant. I mean, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, you know, I'm on prep, I can't do this or whatever. I mean, I know people that have barbecues or, you know, if you're out or you're competing, it's not a big deal. Everybody's eating out of a Tupperware container. I mean, yeah. I always joke around because everybody looks around for microwave. I'm like, well, cold chicken tastes like first place. Like, just learn to do it. I mean, it's not super fun, but there's a lot of people that start prep that don't finish it. And that's not knocking them. It's just, it's hard. If everybody could do it, we would be having hundreds of people on the stage at every show. And it's not like that. But going out, even if you're at a restaurant, I mean, I don't want to admit this, but I mean, I have gone when I was dieting and competing and stuff years ago. There's tons of times where, you know, I would go and I would just bring my own food. Get a couple snarls from the restaurant once in a while, but it's part of it. I wanted to make sure I could still be engaged socially with some of my network, and everybody understood. Everybody, if you didn't understand with me, you didn't understand why I was competing, didn't understand why I was eating that way. I hate to say it, but you got cut out. And we could talk after the show, but there was no room for any sort of doubt or any sort of lack of support. And I think that's another big thing too. It's not about, I can't do this. It's just altering your mind and your headspace. I'm choosing not to. So when you're at a barbecue and someone's like, well, you know, it's just a piece of cake, or, oh, it's just a burger, or, oh, it's just this or that or whatever. That's great. I'm just choosing not to eat like that because it doesn't align with the goals I have. And if you can't support that, then I can't really have anything to do with you until after the show. People will change their tune pretty quick the minute that you say that. But yeah, it's definitely nice to have, I know girls that will go and meet up after the gym and they'll go eat their meals in the car together. Like there's all kinds of stuff that happens. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I love seeing, yeah, we all got the same containers.
Yeah.
And rice and everything that goes with it. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It is. So, well, on that note, so if anybody's looking for all the amenities like the jewelry and all that stuff, how do they get a hold of you?
Visit our website. If you do have questions, you can always send us an email through the info@bombshellproductions.ca. Our website is bombshellproductions.ca. Instagram DMs, I do have an assistant that answers the majority of those messages now. Just we're so busy that I can't keep up with all the messages and the trends and stuff. But that's generally the best thing. The other thing I highly recommend is, again, if you've got a coach, talk to your coach. Usually we work with quite a few coaches, and we've got, different offerings that we do for those specific teams. So I think that's really important. But yeah, just reach out. And if you have questions regarding whether it's tanning, I actually just talked to a girl last week. She initially wanted to order a do-it-yourself kit for tanning, and she was going to compete with a different federation for different reasons. And after we chatted, she kind of got pumped up to come do the show that we're going to be the official at. So it's ask the questions. Sometimes you're freaking out about, oh, I'm not going to look good, or, oh, this is what's going on. Like, I've had people message me. I mean, I don't really like it, but I've had people message me at 2 a.m. saying that they're staring at a bag of cookies. Like, I usually will respond if I'm up. So there's all kinds of different support that our company offers. And I think, like I said, just reach out, ask those questions. No matter what, I'm not Willy Wonka. I don't sugarcoat anything. I'm very direct, and this isn't a bakery. I just tell it how it is. But I'll tell you again, if you send me pictures, like, or if I've had athletes come and talk to me about their coaches and maybe they're not happy with that, and it's just making the recommendations. I mean, even when people do talk about coaches, I usually give them the coaches that if I was going to compete again, that I would work with. We're kind of like a bartender, so I hear all the good, the bad, and the ugly with everybody, but these are the people that I would trust highly in the industry, and that I would trust and I would work with myself. So do your research on that. But like you said, we're available for more than just kind of what we offer. And I think the clients that we do have know that. They know that we're a source of support and encouragement at the shows and even before the shows. I've got a lot of people that I kind of check in with throughout the season just to see how they're doing, checking their posts, liking their stuff, just keeping engaged with them, or again, seeing them happening to run into them in different places. So always reach out. It's the best policy for sure.
Perfect. Great advice. So on that note, I want to thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Sherrie. Appreciate you.
Have a great day.
You too.
I want to thank my guest today and my listeners for joining me at Beyond the Prep. If you like this episode and want to make sure you don't miss any others, please subscribe. You can also find us on YouTube.